Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're having some technical issues. Bear with us. We're going to be starting soon. Thank you so much. Daniel, it seems like the start broadcast was pressed. So we have 97 attendees already. We are having some technical issues with Ignacio Diaz from Royal Palm. So I think we can start whenever you feel comfortable with Louis Birdman. Thank you so much. And Mr. Rishi Kapoor, thank you so much for joining us today. So I think we can start with them while Ignacio can join again.
Thank you very much, Corinne. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So welcome to this virtual meeting. Very excited to have three remarkable developers, three gentlemen that I respect very, very much, and we're extremely proud to be representing their developments at One Sotheby's International Realty. So just by way of introduction, my name is Daniel De La Vega. I'm the president of One Sotheby's International Realty, and we operate in 7 counties, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Martin County, Indian River County, and Brevard County, as well as St. Lucie County. So I'm gonna ask whoever's not speaking if they can mute, and then when they're ready to speak, they can go ahead and unmute. There's Ignacio. So we're in a very unprecedented time, but we've seen a lot of really great transactions taking place, and I think that as we looked at the market and we started projecting out, I think that we thought it was going to be a little bit more difficult than it is or has been. We've had some really great sales. I know that all three of these gentlemen have experienced that, and we're all seeing people changing the way they live. And these gentlemen, I think, were a bit ahead of their time in their developments and sort of how they created the different spaces, whether it be Louis, who's created his whole ecosystem within its own ecosystem within 1000 Museum, or Rishi, who's got the wellness component and partnered with a wellness group that is adding a tremendous amount of value, or Ignacio, who's got a great building for social distancing, because you've got 48 units total, 16 units in each building, right? So these gentlemen are definitely ahead of their time when you look at that. But I'd like to start off with Louis. 1000 has had some record-breaking sales. You've had some really cool celebrities come through the building, right? Let's call it what it is. They're cool. And I think it's a testament. I was walking with a friend of mine this morning, and he said, "You guys are doing really well at 1000. What's going on?" And I said, the developers just did a really good job of finishing the building, whether it be the people at the front desk, whether it be the amenities, the finishes actually within the units are absolutely remarkable. And we've got this really great buzz going on really around the world, right? I mean, because that's where the buyers are coming from now. And that's really where the buyers have always come from. But Louis, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about 1000 Museum and its most recent sales with the great celebrities that have come in.
Yeah, so I mean, it's obviously been a very interesting time for all of us here in South Florida, and developers and brokers, and just business owners in general. Having to navigate what we're dealing with today. And going back a few months ago, I mean, none of us really knew what to expect, obviously, because this is not something that any of us have had to really deal with for the most part in our lifetimes. Here in the United States. And so, obviously, we all were, sort of very, trepidatious about what was going on. And, we had obviously, recently completed the building. We CO'd the building like almost a year ago. Okay. We basically closed all of our, initial sales, and we had made a bunch of new sales along the way. And, we were now coming into a time when, the building was really up and operating. People were moving into the building. People had, brought in their designers, and the building was starting to come to life. And then obviously we sort of get, hit with this out of surprise, and nobody really knew what was coming next. But leading up to that, obviously we had been in negotiation with, some of these sales that closed, with, David Beckham and with Paul Pogba, which were completely unrelated sales. They just both happened to be from the soccer world. Those were some sales that we were working on sort of before all of this happened. But even with what happened recently, obviously there was a lot of caution on everybody's part. So we were able to, complete those sales, and then we also had some other sales that we were working on prior to that. And then, there was this pause, but the pause was kind of really short in a sense. It seemed like it was almost just a few weeks, and then all of a sudden there started to be this new activity and new interest in South Florida from obviously all over the United States. A little bit different from what we've been dealing with in prior years, where we're getting a lot of interest from people all over the world. People were starting to really think about where they want to live again, how they want to live. People were re-looking at what it was like to live in the home that they were at, or a lot of people that we were talking to maybe already owned something here, and they were actually here at their place in Miami or in South Florida, and they realized after spending more time there that wasn't the place that they want to spend more time. So they started to look at what other options were available to them, and sort of preparing for what the future might hold. So obviously, our experience has been, we've been seeing people with this sort of renewed interest and really looking at the product, really focusing in on the product and saying, if I'm going to buy something in South Florida, what are the options that are available to me? And, sort of what fits with my lifestyle. And we found that, we were starting to see a lot of buyers again who, maybe could afford to be anywhere in South Florida. They could be in Sunny Isles, they could be in Palm Beach, they could be in Miami Beach, they could be in Miami, Key Biscayne, wherever it was. And people really started to look at what different options were available to them. And, we're fortunate in that, like you said, the completion of the building, the way that the building, came out, the fact that we had this amazing architect create, which was one of her last works, the product itself really started to speak for itself and speak to the buyers. So again, where in the past we've been able to attract people who were typically a beach buyer, whether it was Miami Beach or Sunny Isles, we started to attract people off the beach into a building that sort of fit within their lifestyle. And now obviously we have to see how things move going forward, but oddly enough, we're as busy or busier than we've ever been in our sales activity than even pre-COVID.
Yeah, and I would say busier. I mean, look, if you want 5,000 square feet also, right, and some of the comps that we're looking at, Miami Beach, et cetera, the value that you're getting at 1,000 Museum is far superior. So to be able to, buy a 5,000 square foot unit for $1,200-$1,300 a square foot versus $3,000 a square foot, I mean, there's tremendous value. And I think a lot of people are looking for value in this building. So when you have value, when you have luxury, when you have great neighbors, because you do have a very tall tower, one of the tallest towers. I know there was a lot of issues with the FHA and all that, but at the end of the day, you only have 84 residences. So it is this beautiful building that changed the landscape of Miami, but you are still considered a bit of a boutique building. So that's great. And I appreciate that, Louis. So Rishi, I'll move on to you. Villa Valencia. Tell us a little bit about your vision behind Villa Valencia and the neighborhood, and why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I was trying to be quiet. So
There we go.
yeah, thanks, Daniel, and nice to be with all the gentlemen here today and the attendees. Thank you for listening in. So with Villa Valencia, it was really a concept that evolved over time, where we've been in the high-end single-family home business for a number of years, and also marketing condominiums for a number of years. And we saw an opportunity where we obviously see a clear trend, people right-sizing out of larger homes and looking to move in towards an urban core. So Coral Gables is a beautiful local market. It's gone through an extreme rejuvenation over the last dozen or so years. You've seen that on Miracle Mile, you've seen that on Geralda, you've seen that throughout the entire city, of this beautiful new wind entering and people moving closer to a more city or urbanistic environment. So for us, we saw this as kind of a confluence of a couple of different factors, knowing that people were looking to leave larger homes from markets like Pinecrest and South Miami and Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, Key Biscayne, Miami Beach. We have buyers from each of those markets, sub-markets at this point. And for us, it was this idea of how do we create a boutique luxury lifestyle that was very amenity rich. So for us, the concept started with, we were one of the tallest structures in Coral Gables. We achieved very specific spot zoning for our site, and we said we want to be the most luxurious condominium in the history of Coral Gables. That was the starting thesis. And then in addition to that, the pillars of our company are wellness, technology, and nature. So we designed that into each of the 4 divisions within Location Ventures. So the idea was how to apply those pillars to this project. So we ultimately flew up to New York a number of years ago to meet with Delos, which is a wellness company based in New York City. And we've become the first condominium project in the United States to include their 3 wellness systems with each of our condo units. So the idea was, how do we give people a platform for the healthiest home possible? That was where we wanted to start with that thesis. So the idea was circadian rhythm lighting, air quality and filtration, and water quality and filtration. And all of that can be monitored through the Darwin system. So you can actually pay attention to allergens in the air and measure air quality. And these are all things that are important to people who, on average, the average person spends about 90% of their time indoors. So you want to try and create the environment. And in addition to that, we can set moods. So in the morning, for example, if you want to wake up naturally instead of to an alarm, you can actually set the lighting to become warm and match the color temperature of the sun. In the master bedroom, for example, the shades can rise in a similar intensity to the light. And you have this whole ability of feeling like you're awaking in nature. And similarly, in the evening, you can adjust the color temperature to a warmer glow, have the shades come down, and this all can be set up in different moods or scenes. So for us, it was really important that as a development company, we consider ourselves very product oriented, and we wanted to kind of close the loop on what the product was, so people could move in at a very high level. It comes with a home technology brain, all of the wellness features that I just talked about, and completely turnkey ready. So ultimately, that was the thesis for, on average, 3,000 square foot units, about 1,000 square feet of terraces throughout the building for each unit. And that just gives us a single family home alternative. And we're catering to that market that's looking to right size, simplify their life, and have a a very amenity-rich lifestyle in one of the most beautiful pockets of Greater Miami and walking distance to downtown Gables. So that's how we arrived at the thesis for Villa Valencia.
Yeah, so I grew up in Coral Gables. I love the neighborhood. I grew up going to all the restaurants around Villa Valencia, and that the neighborhood draws so many people. But I think one of the reasons that you've been so successful and are over 30% sold already is because, in a very short period of time, by the way, is because you're really pioneering luxury when it comes to vertical living in Coral Gables, right? And it's something that hasn't been done. And when you look at the surrounding neighborhoods, and the same goes for Boca for that matter, right? And we'll hear from Ignacio now, but when you look at the buyer profile that lives in Coral Gables, that lives in Gables Estates, that lives in it, they expect something really nice. So if they're leaving their $5 million plus home, they want to come home to these really special finishes, and they want that customization. And we'll talk a little bit about that with Rishi and Ignacio in a little bit, but thank you for that, Rishi. It gives us a lot of insight. So Ignacio Diaz has a beautiful development, Royal Palm Residences, I think the heart of Boca Raton, around some remarkable restaurants. Ignacio, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about Royal Palm Residences?
Okay, can you hear me now? Perfect. Okay, great. So I'm Ignacio Diaz from Group P6. I'm the owner of Group P6. I can tell you about Royal Palm Residences. Royal Palm Residences is a boutique project in Boca, and in hearing from Rishi, we have a lot of commonalities, although in a different city and a different municipality. We did this project based on our learning and understanding of Palm Beach County and the city of Boca and our neighbors from a previous project that we did down the street here, which was 327 Royal Palm, which was a really successful project coming out of the financial recession of 2008 to 2010. And we basically try to put everything that we've learned and try to improve our market in what we call a boutique project, in what we think is the best location in downtown Boca, that really is targeted for people who want a simpler lifestyle, coming sometimes from very big homes, very, very valuable homes, many of them here in Boca, but also now every time more coming from New York, from the Northeast. We're seeing it's cascading, frankly, in the past couple of weeks. We saw it digitally from March in March and April, and in May we're starting to see them to come physically to the sales center and see that interest. And it's what we have created is that it's a home residence with 270 degrees of views at least in each unit, with private elevator. So right now all the elevators are in the talk, and I don't want to share my elevator. You're in a condo, you're in an elevator. Well, we have an elevator designed from the beginning where only you ride in your private elevator one trip at a time, because there's so very few units and so many elevators that we put on this that we can accommodate those things. Aside from that, I mean, I think it's hard to beat Boca. I mean, I'm excited for all of everything that is happening in Southeast Florida, but I do think Boca has something very special happening and coming on. It's the largest taxpayer city in Palm Beach County. It's one of the healthiest. It has one of the best municipal services. If you check safety, if you check, from how the landscaping to the water, to the police, to the education works in the city, it's truly outstanding. And we created a project that, we put the best that we could in terms of floor plan. We made it more flexible, going from 2,400 square feet to 7,000 square feet. And we truly allow also people to customize what they want. All our units have view, either ocean views or golf course views or Lake Boca views. All our units have views. I think it's in that same concept of a very, very high-end living, but simplifying your life coming to a condo.
So talk to me, you spoke a little bit about customization. And yeah. I think that in the world, in today's world, people sort of may want to live a little bit different, right? I think what's really special about Royal Palm Residences is that you really are open to working with the buyer as far as customization to that unit, and at no profit to you, right? Just as a benefit to the buyer. So, can you expand on that a little bit more? I think it's extremely important.
Yeah, we made that a mission actually from us starting 2013 or so, or 2014, when we started playing the market. Our buyers really, there was a lot of development trying to push the cookie cutter development of, hey, this is what I offer you. I offer a base package, and then you can upgrade, and you have 4 or 5 standard options, and you choose between your 5 options, and then there's profit, and it's more price for the buyer when they change to those options. And it used to be, I think it still is to some degree, depending on the kind of development, a typical profit center for developers. What we realized is that our mission was in selling the unit and in the real estate value of the outstanding location and quality of the building we were building. And buyers felt a lot more comfortable when we put out there our best foot forward in terms of finishes, right? In terms of quality of the flooring, of the appliances, of the automation system, of the kitchen cabinetry, of all the features and specs of the unit. We truly made it very, very high end to begin with, not something you had to upgrade. And then we really allow them to customize in terms of, I want to change the flooring, I want to change the kitchen, I want to change my appliance, I want to change, and we do it on a true cost basis for the customer. We absolutely have, sometimes customers come and change things and take credit from us, instead of us charging them more to make the change. And we think that really has hit a nerve, that really has enabled us to make people comfortable on purchasing from Group P6 and on making the sales move forward. I think that's probably why we had 35% of the projects sold in between January 19 that we started at the start of COVID-19. I think we're really hitting a nerve with those those kind of things where you can make it personal, but you know what you're in, and you can make your substitutions, and it's just part of the process. We're not here to financial engineer you after you decided that you like the real estate on the property.
That's great. So similar to Villa Valencia, there's a lot of local buyers, and we really in those last 90 days, I mean, we've hit it out of the park, and it's a testament to your reputation, of course, in the community, but to the development as well. And that customization, because the local buyer is moving from a home, I think is a tremendous added value. Rishi, can you talk a little bit about that as well? Because I know we have somebody right now from Chicago that's coming down next week to buy a unit. And one of the reasons that that's happening is because you've really been able to work with him. I know you moved the master to the west side, and you did a bunch of tweaks that really worked well for him. So can you expand on that as well, and in your experiences in the customization of the units?
Yeah, of course. And really the idea, as Ignacio was saying, it's trying to help a high customer service, high touch philosophy towards who are very affluent buyers coming from nice residences. So we've taken the approach where our 39 units we've looked at as 39 custom homes, and obviously that can be really a bit of a scale on how much you can customize at what point you are in the construction of the project. And obviously you have to be sensitive to what is realistic and other things that are not realistic. And sometimes coming from a single family home environment might have an expectation that you can just do just about anything you might want. So a little bit of that expectation management has to be done throughout the process, especially in our case, you're talking about a high-rise condominium where there are limitations. But generally we try to find a way, especially at the price points that we are achieving. We're hitting on all of our upper level floors north of $1,000 a foot, which are prices that have never been seen before in downtown Coral Gables. I mean, those are traditionally prices that you've seen closer to the water. I think a big statement about that is the level of luxury that we are willing to deliver. So the buyer that you're talking about is somebody that engaged with us during the pandemic. And I think that this is a indicative of a lot of people's experiences that, folks who are at home doing research, and the idea became, okay, I got research on the project, I'm interested in the project. He approached us with a lot of information, a lot of homework already done. It's a couple from Chicago. They're very well to do and looking for a residence in South Florida. So ultimately, they're coming from a single family home environment with larger bedrooms and a larger great room and a larger format kitchen. And ultimately, what we were able to do was eliminating a bedroom. They're looking at a 4-bedroom unit that we expect to go under contract next week. And the idea was that ultimately we could expand those other attributes in the rest of the unit and make it more akin to a single family home living environment. And similar to that, we are actually, next week, we'll be under contract with a north-south combo unit. It's a $6 million sale for us, which is exciting. And ultimately for that, it was taking 2 units, a 4-bedroom and a 3-bedroom, combining it, and then really making it like a single family home estate. So the idea for 6,000 square feet, a couple thousand square feet of terraces, and it has many of the attributes of what you would expect a buyer coming from the Pinecrest, Coral Gables market in a large format home. So as much as we can, move walls and make it happen, we will do it. Obviously, it's tough with some of the risers throughout the building to be able to modify that. You can't put water just anywhere. So the idea is we're trying to be as accommodating as possible. And I think that this buyer profile, the affluent buyer profile, reacts positively to people, to developers that are willing to make an effort to help their dream home come to life. And I think that we just want to try to accommodate that as commercially realistically as possible.
That's great. That's amazing. I mean, I think, whether it be Royal Palm Residences or Villa Valencia, we have 39 units and 48 units respectively. I think, as the market continues down the path that it's on, we'll probably be saying we have less amount of units for sale just because of the amount of people that are going to combine. I remember when we launched Royal Palm Residence, Ignacio, remember we had that guy that wanted to combine the units and do the deal right there. So I think we're going to continue to see that. Louis, hard to combine 10,000 square foot units or even 5,000 square foot units for that matter. But, tell us about the lifestyle at 1000 Museum, because I think whenever we sell new development, right, we always want to sell the lifestyle. And as these buildings over time just continue to get more amenitized, you've really, set the standard when it comes to a lot of this. And, listen, you've got a helipad on the roof. I mean, that's out of this world. I mean, with all the PR that you've done, if everybody on this call hasn't done it, you haven't been on Earth over the last 2 or so years. But you do have the aquatic center, you've got the 2 pools, you've got the gyms, you've got the restrooms. When I say restrooms, I mean literally like restrooms, not bathrooms. The media rooms, the juice bars. I mean, it's like its own ecosystem. And then you've got the beach club component. I mean, the second you touch down at 1000 Museum, it just you feel like the epitome of luxury, right? And that sense that you get, which, that first immediate reaction or feeling, you sense it throughout the whole building. The spa is remarkable. And of course, Zaha kind of input is felt throughout the whole building. But talk a little bit about what the lifestyle is like at 1000 Museum.
So look, we set out from the very beginning to create an environment like you were living in a luxury hotel. So we really wanted the building to operate much like a 5-star hotel would operate. When the building was designed, one of the criteria that we gave the architect is we really wanted to create a true back of house, so that every common area that residents or their visitors would be using would be able to be accessed via a back of house to be serviced, so that when you go to a luxury hotel, what you don't notice is some of the things you're not noticing, which is important. So you don't have typically people who are working in that five-star hotel environment riding in the same elevators with the guests. You don't have them entering into restaurants or pool areas or whatever from sort of from the front of house. They're always entering from the back of house. So the building was designed with that in mind. Obviously not knowing what we're experiencing today, just like much of us are talking about, we've unintentionally created things within our buildings through its design and architecture that are very well suited for what we're dealing with today. We have private elevators, we have sort of separation of people who are coming in to service the building and people who are coming in to work on the building. So it's not that much of a challenge for us to transfer some of the things that we need to do now into the environments that we've created. So look, we've got 84 residences in the building. They're all very large. Because our buyers are from all over the world, there's never really a great number of them there at any one given time, because these are people that this isn't typically a second home for most of our owners. It's a third or fourth or fifth or sixth home for some people. So there's a lot of, when you're in the building, you don't feel like there's ever a lot of people there in terms of in-house, because the units are so big and there's so much amenity space. I mean, we have 5 floors dedicated to amenities. The entire top 2 floors of the building, rather than being a penthouse unit, we created 10 full floor penthouses, and then we created a 2-story penthouse, which is really a common element for the entire building, with our Sky Lounge and some of the spaces you mentioned, theater, aquatic center, private dining area. So we've created a lot of space within the building, and we've allowed for people to have this sort of real sense of privacy, in the sense that there's a lot of living spaces within the building that are common to the building for the residents. We have 2 pools at the building for 84 units. 1 indoor, 1 outdoor. I mean, the helipad, obviously, which will prove to be something very interesting for people who are looking to, commute into South Florida to get to their residence here privately, and be able to get privately, from the private airport where they land to their own private airport at the building. These are very unique features. But from a service level, I mean, we have 48 people in staff at the building. Obviously not all at one time, but to cover all the shifts that we have between valet and security and all the front of house and hospitality positions. And I mean, there's a large number of people working in the building in support of the people who come there as residents or their guests to the building. And in many cases, we have more in staff than we actually do in sleeping in house. So it's a very interesting environment.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I think that's definitely part of the success that we've had. Ignacio, you've got a very similar concept, and you've got a remarkable lifestyle, right? That you can have if you live at Royal Palm Residences. 2 of my personal favorite restaurants, not only in Boca Raton, but in the world, really, are right across the street, right? You've got Il Molino and the French one. I think it's La Nouvelle.
La Nouvelle Maison and Trattoria Romana too. The best, the best Italian, the best French. Il Molino, it's right at your doorstep, right? Yes.
Trattoria is great. I mean, you've got Boca Resort, right, which Michael Dell just bought. You're 2 blocks from the north entrance. You've got the wellness component. You've got all that. I mean, tell me a little bit about what it's like to live at Royal Palm Residences.
I think it just doesn't get any better. You are, you know, if you look at, let me tell you a few elements. If you look at dining and what's happening, you're within walking distance of close to 100 restaurants, right? From the high end and high cuisine that you're talking about. You walk to those restaurants, you cross the street and you're in them, and you come back to your unit, or if you want to take the delivery or anything you want. You're in the right side of Boca. I mean, you're in the hot area, you're where everything is happening, where it's exciting to be in Boca Raton. You're on the right side of the bridge. I mean, we can get into the details of the location for your audience, but essentially you're in East downtown Boca on the right side of the bridge, where you don't have either bridge lift or it goes down, you have to wait. And at the same time, you're a 7-minute walk to the beach. You don't have to, you know, it's you're seeing the beach from your home. You walk 7 minutes and you go for a jog, you go for a swim, you go for anything you want. In terms of club, resort, lifestyle, we have the Boca Resort, who was, you know, just bought by Michael Dell family office for close to $500 million. It's, you know, it's literally right in front of our lobby. And so you walk from a lobby and you go to the Boca Resort, where they're investing, you know, from the golf course to the family to the pool to the area to, you know, everything in terms of a resort, you know, dining, club, spa, you mentioned it. And on top of that, let's say you're a golfer, right? Let's say you're really an avid golfer, or you really like clubs. We have, for example, an alliance with Boca Rio Golf Club. Very exclusive, very high-end club, and we found, you know, a lot of people that's one of the best golf course, right, in the nation. Where, you know, they play the LPGA tournament. A lot of their members are looking into here, and some people who have come here are coming here also becoming members of Boca Rio Golf Club. So really, you have, you know, dining, shopping, you know, you have resort, you have the beach, and you're in the middle of a very walkable environment. You know, with Meister Park, of course. I mean, you know, Meister Park is so close. It's just it's unique, right? It's unique, and in the corner where we are, you know, it doesn't get any better. I really believe that in terms of life.
And really, to be able to get around town even quicker, we've got the exclusive partnership with One-on-One Concierge, right? Which can help people with all their concierge services.
Absolutely, right. So every unit, we develop a dedicated concierge that from tickets to a game to just, hey, wash my car or help pick up my laundry, or come and do, you know, be here while they come to the AC maintenance of the unit. They can help you with all those things. And you know, I think a lot of what's happening too, and you know, we're seeing it. We used to see Boca very focused for Boca people from West Boca in large homes going to East Boca. Now we're seeing a lot of people coming from Miami-Dade and Broward, and we're seeing people coming from New York too, and from the Northeast. It's a real movement in striking that quality of life, you know, in a good environment, being well connected. We're going to have Brightland. Now you're also going to be able to walk to the Brightland station, and you're in Palm Beach or in Orlando or you're in Miami. You know, just with Brightland coming by the time we're done, and it's really unique, right? I mean, when you get to meet this ecosystem and the quality of people and what comprises it, it's really astonishing.
Yeah, I can't wait for that bright line. That's going to help me so much connecting
I'll
from
see
the
you more
different
often.
cities. Yeah, definitely. So Rishi, I remember we were having a drink, you and I, and you said to me, we were at Riviera, right by Villa Valencia, the country club, and you said, you've got a lot of projects going on. You've got some really cool stuff, right? But this is your primary condo. And you said, I want to do a condo at a time, and I want to do it right. And that really resonated with me. And I think that that's what everybody is really feeling about your building. So I think what we would like to hear, at least what I would like to hear, is about talk about the quality of the building, talk about the finish of the building, the appliances. I mean, there's nothing like it when it comes to vertical living, hands down, in all of Coral Gables. So if you're moving from something in a high-end neighborhood, you have one option. You really do have one option, and it's Villa Valencia. And like you said earlier, we are priced and getting deals done at $1,000 a foot, which has never been done. But I think Sotheby's does a remarkable job. But listen, at the end of the day, it's the product that you're putting out. It's unrivaled, right? So talk a little bit about that, because we have a lot of people from the Northeast. I'm looking at a lot of the questions coming in, which we're going to jump to immediately, I promise you. But I think that's important, because we've seen a big wave of people that have come in from the Northeast. This guy from Chicago, from the Midwest, from everywhere. They demand quality. And tell us about that within your building.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. So, for us, in our boutique condo division, which is the four for us in our company, the idea is to stick to boutique luxury developments. So we have a pipeline of sites in Miami-Dade and then also now in Broward. And really, we want to be known as we expand nationally as luxury experts in boutique buildings. And that's something that is very important to us. And the thesis, again, is we call it personal resorts and premium locations. And that was the idea of how we want to approach each of the projects. So for us, we're, like you had mentioned before, in Coral Gables, many people are coming from the Ponce Davis area, from Coconut Grove, from Old Cutler Bay, Gables Estates, Pinecrest, and there's been beautiful, beautiful homes that have been developed over the last 2 decades that many of our buyers are relocating from. So they typically, I would say the majority of our buyers are coming from, 4,000 to 5,000 square foot plus homes, many that are double that size, but they were commissioned homes for a lot of them. They went through the custom home building experience. They raised their family there. They sent their kids to the nearby great schools. We're blessed to have some of the best schools in all of Miami-Dade, or South Florida for that matter, within just a couple of miles of our building. And there's a reason that this very local, very affluent mix of people in greater Miami have chosen their residence in our little pocket of the city. So they built these homes or found these homes with really high-end finishes. They all have, technology packages, whether it's Crestron or Savant, etc. They have, the finest marbles, natural woods, high-end appliances, typically, really not outside of the Wolf Sub-Zero family. So all of these were considerations, and we just wanted to take that thesis of the house and apply it in a vertical building. And that's why throughout our building, I really applaud my colleagues here with some of the amenities that they've talked about. And for us, we're a high percentage amenity building for only 39 units. We have a hammam spa and complete wellness center with his and her spas, gym, obviously yoga area, private cabanas. We have private parking garages as well for our residents that are available for sale, a 78-foot resort style pool, and all of this for only 39 units. I'm to say we have one of the highest percentages of amenity space per unit, per square foot of anything in South Florida. And for us, that was important, where we wanted people to feel like they were continuing a lifestyle that came from the single family home environment and now had it in a more convenient single level living environment. So in addition to that, as far as finishes, I think we're dealing with some of the best European woods, some of the best marbles. We have those as upgrades that are available, which almost all of our buyers have elected from our porcelain base packages. Sub-Zero and Wolf are standard. The Delos and Darwin systems are standard.
That's incredible.
We include Savant home technology system standard, Lutron lighting standard. All of these are included with the unit. And I think that's why people that have come to us have said, okay, so your philosophy is you don't want the building to be a construction site for the years after people start taking occupancy. And we want to deliver it at a high level where, you know, when you're talking about affluent clientele, I think two of the most important things in that lifestyle are people's health and well-being, and then their time. So ultimately, if you're willing to make it turnkey, make the investment and give it a level of living that is synonymous with the expectation of the nearby affluent neighborhoods, you know, we're just packaging that into what is essentially like a vertical country club. That's really the way that we look at our building.
That's great. That's great. You forgot two very important amenities: the golf simulator and the driving simulator. The two things that are near and dear to my heart. So I want to give a quick shout out to Ann and Keith from the Sotheby's Hamptons office. I know that the Hamptons have been going crazy with people moving from the city, so we're really happy to have them on the call with us today. So everybody's talking about what the future looks like, Elena Blunser, a top producer at One Sotheby's. She works many markets, but is a specialist in Fisher Island, and she knows a thing or two about selling luxury condos. She wants to know about what the trends are when it comes to kitchens and flooring and things like that. And I guess I'll kind of add to that question. I'll start with Louis. What's your opinion on what the future of condo living looks like? I mean, you put the future in everybody's hands really before anybody with Zaha, right? She's the architect of the future. That's always what she's been. So what do you see as the future of condo living amidst this environment that we're all in right now?
Well, you know, one of the things that for sure I think we're going to see more of in the future is more attention being paid to HVAC systems, you know, in terms of, you know, pre-treating of air, you know, things for, you know, improvement of air quality, like a lot of the things that Rishi was talking about. You know, those are not, you know, generally typically things that, you know, especially in large scale high-rise buildings that are dealt with in units. They're usually sort of more add-on to the units, where people do upgrades to the units, where they may do some things with regards to, you know, water, circadian lighting, or, you know, using, you know, low VOC paints and things like that have become a little bit more common. But I think going forward, people are going to be looking at, you know, how is my, you know, air system within the unit recirculate? And look, there's a lot of easy ways to, you know, to deal with that even after the fact for existing buildings. But I think for new buildings going forward, it's going to be things that, you know, all of us are going to be looking at and buyers are going to be asking about.
I think so too. Rishi, what's your take? I know you've also got some other developments. We're focused on Villa Valencia today, but you've got some shared office concept. I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the future of condo living.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Louis hit on some of the key points that I think people are very focused on. You know, right now we're evolving in an iterative way, right? Like we're making adjustments with technology that is out there. I think what you're seeing is some of this technology is becoming adoptable and financially reasonable to incorporate into buildings. I'll be honest, like the proposals that we received to incorporate the 3 wellness systems into each of the units, they were not things that we felt were shocking, that we felt that they were reasonable, and we've built into the pro forma of every project that we're doing moving forward, whether it's in co-living and co-working, or as our luxury condos and family homes. So that's a base feature that we expect on a go-forward basis. And I think that the expectation there is for many people, it's a question of what is wealth without health. And again, we just want to be able to give the healthiest platform of a home possible. So number one, I think that that's on the forefront of many people's minds, and that's been amplified by the last 2 months in the COVID pandemic, for sure. And in addition to that, you know, I think that when people consider vertical living on a go-forward basis as a primary residence, especially, there's going to be this concept of density. And I think people are going to want and prefer, fewer neighbors than more neighbors, and everything that my colleagues have touched on as far as cleanliness and private elevators, et cetera. Those are all going to become expectations on a go-forward basis, and it's already been moving that way anyway. And I think another point on top of all of that, when you consider property technology and how to incorporate that into a building, I think people are going to expect, just like when you get more advanced features in a car, it's going to be the same evolution and expectation in a home, that the home technology is expected. The smart locks are expected. The camera systems are expected. All of these things are going to become not just add-ons, but part of the base package on a go-forward basis, especially as us condo developers are always trying to raise the bar and set ourselves apart. And then the other point that I also think that Lewis hit on that's really, really important is the level of service that people can expect. I think there's a general trend towards more service than less service in condominiums, especially in luxury condominiums, and I only see that continuing. So for us, similar to what Lewis had mentioned, we have service throughout our building. We have a drawing room that will be in like an old, style English drawing room where you can receive coffee and breakfast in the morning, and a boardroom to take meetings, and again, just making it an extension of the house feeling. So those are really where I see trends moving. And one category was also creating private spaces within the condominium for the resident to make it feel a little bit more of their own. And that's why we're selling private cabanas at the pool deck and private garages in the overall garage, because I think the more people feel, okay, I'm okay with, this idea of condo living with many parties, but if I can carve out various niches of the building for myself, I'm willing to pay that premium. And I see more of that happening as we go forward.
That's great. Ignacio, tell me a little bit about, I know there's a lot going on. Everybody's talking about the Northeast. We've got New Jersey, we've got New York, and outside of the city, we've got Boston, et cetera. A lot of migration happening, right? It's almost like the second wave. It's this compounded migration effect, right? When you had the Great Migration, right, from SALT and all the tax implications that have taken place, and now you've got this pandemic. Tell me a little bit about why Palm Beach, why Boca Raton, and your thoughts on the migration as a whole.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is I think the pandemic, what it's doing and what it has done for our business and for many businesses, is not so much change the world, but accelerate the world and accelerate the changes. And I think you're going to see it in technology, and you're going to see it with, in many ways. And I think you're going to see it in development and in condominiums and in these trends. The trend of, I was living in a state that had high income tax, that had state taxes for my family, that wasn't giving me the service, the public education, the quality of life, the quality of living, and I was paying a lot, and I was just not even getting good weather many times. That was a trend that we saw coming, and that we've seen growing from 2012 to now. I've seen incrementally growing. I think now, I truly think this is a game changer. And, particularly if you see a certain areas like New York, I mean, the corridor between Palm Beach and New York, and when I say Palm Beach, I mean Palm Beach Airport, which serves, really the Palm Beach County where Boca Raton is incredible. It's incredibly strong, the link between Palm Beach County and Palm Beach Airport and New York. Now in Boca, we have a private airport too. If you don't fly commercial and you fly in your own private jet, they also land in Boca more and more. And now it's also an international private airport, so you can go from here to Bahamas, to wherever you want, in your private plane. So I think the pandemic, right now, those states more in deficit, where they see that in those very dense urban environments, the contagion rates were a lot higher, and they were trapped in their homes. and they were, while here in Boca, I mean, I was in a golf cart, driving with the kids, riding my bicycle, going out in the street. We actually had a great time, right? I mean, we really had a great time, family time, the neighbors. We were keeping our distance, our measures, but I could not complain. And I was hearing for the people who were in New York, and they tell me I sneak out to come to the office, and they cannot see me. And and those stories, it's an entirely different world. So you come here, your cost of living is lower, your taxes is lower. You have now so many friends here. You have now so many connections that you know someone who live here, where you're not a stranger. And in Palm Beach County, I mean, it's just it's still more of a less international, more domestic, more American, type of type of living. And I think some people just like the comfort of that. Well, we still welcome many internationals, including, that's how I landed here, coming internationally originally. There's something to be said about Palm Beach towards that. And I think building on what they're saying, I think that I think those people are looking for the same trends that will get accelerated. Boutique, which I think they've all hit it on. I mean, boutique, all the people who are looking for 400 condo development, I think those days are gone to a good degree. There will be a space and a play for that, but I think boutique is really a big trend that people from New York are looking for. I think they're looking for security and safety.
I agree.
I think, and for that, technology and access control and low voltage and how secure I am, and in case there's a big event and things come out, I think security, combining technology with privacy, but really feeling secure at your home is going to be key. I think the sense of your home being still home, right? So for example, I want to simplify my living, but I don't want to compromise. In the Northeast, for example, they cook with gas quite a bit. So having gas in our units have attracted, and we have gas grill cooktops, and we also have gas barbecues in the outside. So you're living in the condo with the convenience of your condo, but you can still do your barbecue as you did in your home, in your balcony. And all those features about technology, the air, some of those, like I think Rishi said, they're simpler to do. You put a UV light or you put something. There's some things that you're not going to be able to retrofit in an older home. So I think in general, new construction is going to become even more desirable, because in new construction you can do the restaurant automation and all those things as features where you can really have a smart home in terms of security, shades, lighting, sound, camera, and you name it. So I think the trend for the Northeast, I just see an acceleration of all those trends. Some of our migratory and tax trends, and some of them have to do with technology and security, that I think these will just speed it up, and it will be to the benefit of boutique living and something special, as opposed to something for the masses.
I agree. Boutique is definitely the new black. Rishi, you wanted to add something?
Just want to add something to that, is that
Of course.
out of what we're seeing right now, I very much feel, for the reasons that you all have hit on, that Florida is going to be a net winner coming out of the pandemic. That people were already looking at us for a variety of reasons, and as Ignacio said, it's only accelerating that. And now, if this ever happens again, what kind of environment do you want to be living in? You've learned that many businesses can now successfully telecommute, that you can be able to conduct your business from almost anywhere. It's got a lot of people really rethinking their lifestyle. So now we've got an opportunity to leave a very dense cold weather environment. If these pandemics happen in the future, the likelihood is that they're going to happen in stronger cases where it's cold and you have other seasonal illnesses. So if you have an ability to leave a dense environment, leave a colder environment, and you are able to conduct your life from South Florida, why wouldn't you want to do that, or at least do that for 6 months in a day throughout the year? So I just really think that we're going to see Florida as a net winner over the next 18 months, and that trend that has been happening since the tax changes is only going to accelerate.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree with you guys more. Very great points, guys. And I can sit here and talk to you guys for hours about this. But I do want to get to a few questions that we have here. I'm going to give Lewis here the first one because it's about design, architecture, and how the space is going to change. Let me read you the question in specific here. I was just having a little bit of trouble reading it. I apologize. Okay. What about the impact of design, architecture, and urban planning, both for inside and outside the buildings? I don't understand that. I apologize. Okay, here we go. Do you think there's going to be a change in the way buildings and cities are designed?
I mean, that's sort of a more complex question, but short answer, yes. I think that people are going to be relooking, and it's already been mentioned, sort of at densities,
Yep.
where it's appropriate to have greater density and where it may be less appropriate to have greater density. I think that, as you get into more urbanized areas, there will be sort of probably a trend towards more, separation of spaces, whether it's units getting larger or whether it's, more space being dedicated to things like elevators, where in some buildings, traditional building, you're trying to figure out how to put as few elevators as possible, from a cost standpoint. And I think in some cases, it's going to become unavoidable to possibly have, more vertical transportation in buildings. And because, I think it's going to have an impact on, not just the condo market, but I think it's going to have an impact on the single family market. I actually think that, there may be development in areas that people in Florida maybe didn't go into before, just because there is a little bit more availability of some land, and you can do some single family, or whether it's attached single family or multifamily projects where again certain people who aren't going to want to live in high rise. It's not, that lifestyle is not for everybody.
Yep.
There's a lot of benefits to it, but there's also some some things that people give up in living in a high rise environment. So I think that there will be changes in design and planning considerations, having gone through what we just went through.
Yeah, that's a great point. So guys, we had about an hour, so it's 3:04. We started at 2:01. We went over a little bit, but that's, we had some really great content. We've got a few attendees falling off. We got all the way up to 180 some attendees. So we're going to be sending out the video recording to everybody that signed up for this. And we're also going to be sending out information on each of your sales directors and information on each of your buildings. So I know by some of the people that were asking questions, and I'm sorry we couldn't get to all the questions, we had some really great brokers and clients on the phone. So I want to thank all three of you very much. I can't look at all three of you at the same time, but thank you guys very much. You guys gave us some really, really great insight on your buildings. I think we can all get used to doing this instead of shaking hands, right? The Japanese are way ahead of us anyways in everything they do, so let's just follow. So
India.
thank you guys. And India, of course, there we go. So guys, big shout out to all of you. Big shout out to your developments. If you haven't seen them, you have to see them. What we're talking about today is real. What we're talking about today is showcased in some of the most beautiful sales centers in the Tri-County area that you can walk in, you could touch it, you can feel it. And these three guys are stand-up guys. They're going to honor their word. They're going to finish these buildings, and they're going to finish them the way they say it. Lewis has already done that, and I know that these two other gentlemen, Ignacio and Rishi, are going to follow suit. So be on the lookout for more information. Thank you for joining us, and I hope to do it again soon and have you all on board as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Right.
Thank you.